And welcome. So this is Hikosaemon. I am here in the new apartment, the new setup. I'll give you guys a tour at some point. It's not, I've actually just spent until like half an hour ago still cleaning up. But it's got some pretty cool stuff. I guess I should show you the new digs at the moment. First thing is, if you've seen the thumbnail to this video, you may have noticed the awesome video by the logo, which was done by Pug-chan. She's doing some stuff. If you had a look at her video, she talks about doing stuff on commission, which she does happily, and I'm very happy to ask her. So I did that, and yeah, it's really good. I mean, I love she's doing some kind of logo banner type stuff for me at the moment, and it looks really good. Hey Nicholas Rapp, good to see you. Lisa, sometimes good to see you all. Looks like the sound is working. It is funny actually, because everything plugged in is new at the moment, so setting up in the software to detect, I mean, when you plug in the USB and you're in a new location, it prompts you have to realign everything in the software. So I did a very rushed 5 minutes of setting up for this, but it does all seem to be working. I seem to be here. I guess I should give you guys a quick tour of the new setup. In fact, I guess the easiest way to do that is if I switch over to this, which might be asking for trouble, but let's see how that goes. Boom. Can you still hear me? I think you can still hear me. I'm going to pick this up. And so I guess the main thing I want to show you guys, it's not really set to go yet, but I've actually set up a tripod beside my decks and some plugs. So I've got my old iPhones and iPod Touch and everything all set up there. So while it's not ready now, in the future when I play live music for you guys, it's going to be with that setup over there, and I'm going to do some more stuff. I'm going to be able to use like sampling software like Beatmaker and stuff like that. That's what I really want to do. I want to mix up stuff and not just do the Korg thing, but do like Beatmaker and stuff. So looking forward to that. I'm just going to put it back the way it was. Flip over. Boom. I'm still here. I have to sit on the edge of the camera of the setup at the moment. I'm going to come back over here. In fact, it was a little bit better before. Let me just tilt that around. So as you can see, I didn't have Hopi up last night, but I have Hopi up now. Oh, I've got the video of myself playing in the background. That's why I'm hearing some noise at the moment. Go back and fix that. And yeah, so the new room isn't the same shape as before. I love the shape of the room before, but it is still pretty good. Yes, you can see the lag on the video in the background. By the way, Phoenix 787, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for using my music on the video tonight. I retweeted that, and I saw it. The cheap eating, but inspired by going to Daiso. I went to Daiso today, just getting boxes and stuff like that, just to help with the cleanup, and that was pretty awesome. It worked out pretty well. But yeah. So anyway, I'm going to keep it short tonight. I've got an early start tomorrow, and yeah, 2 shows in a row. It is tough doing 2 shows on the weekend, actually, to tell you the truth. So we might see what I can do with the 2.5 Oyajis thing. Although that was a good show last night. I favorited that and tweeted that earlier. So let me pull this across. Pull this so it's easier to see. I am going to go and quickly just say hello to everybody that came in. So Man in Japan, you were indeed first, so congratulations. Non-Birishito, Phoenix 787, Man in Japan. Who else we got here? Lisa, sometimes good to see you. Shinzan Man, indeed, it looks like you caught a live show, so congratulations on that. Who else we got here? We got Benjamin Harris, Robert 1967 Canada, good to see you guys as always. That's a good crowd, especially given that I only gave like 2 minutes notice for this, so thanks for everyone showing up. Who else we got here? We got Nicholas Rapp, Mr. Cordy Chep, regular suspects here. El Camado, great to see you. Braska Ferry and howdy, good to see you indeed. Daniel Piff, Naum 5, Kantensai, konbanwa. Shonbro, awesome crowd here. Ben Duncan, so look like everybody made it. I moved out of Shinjuku, that's right. With dropping some hardcore gangster lyrics there, that was pretty good. Who else we got here? Any new people other than Shin's that guy up there? Michael Atlas, good to see you, sir. Thank you for coming. It's funny. I'm sorry. I just cleaned. I had to pick all the topics and go through my whole week of tweets and set up a whole new technical setup in 50 minutes. And I did it. But it was tough. I'm getting good at this kind of panic setup stuff. The show with Gigi definitely helped me with that. Nissan R33Z Tune. Good to see. Indeed, you did make it. And nice to see a new name on there in the comments. And lurkers as well. Don't be shy. Come and check it out. Jenny Silva, thank you for coming and checking it out. The digs with the turntable setup are going to be the really big change, but it's not ready to go quite yet. I've got to be careful with the mouse there. I'm looking forward at the production screen at the moment, although it's capturing what you can see on the screen behind me slightly at the moment. Who else we got here? We got Kang and Kodos, always. Here, gotta love the curtains. Yeah, well, the curtains came with the place. And there's not much I can do about that at the moment. But yes, Wildfire 777, Lucas Massa, Gifted Ones 1981. Good to see you. Got you a cup of tea. Very glad to hear that. Indeed, Berenger says boom. And wow, as always, awesome crowd lined up there. And yes, indeed, Phoenix 787. I did say hello to you. So we are now live and caught up, and let's get into the topics and the subjects. Oh, which I say just as it powers off. I'm going to update to the new logo there when that gets done. So I don't have a lot of news topics, and actually we talked, and yes, my hair is growing. I haven't had time to cut it. It's been a crazy week. Maybe I should talk a little bit about the house move first. I never actually got to talk about that last night. So I moved within Tokyo to a new neighborhood in Tokyo, an area I haven't lived in before. I actually recorded a video on my empty old house, which I've got to edit, although, like I say, I've hardly been in front of the PC just because we are still unpacking boxes and stuff like that. It's a big deal doing it with the family, for the first time. I'd say it went pretty smoothly. The new place is smaller. The room I am in is bigger, but the apartment overall is smaller. We had to get rid of a lot of stuff, but I think that was cleansing and good to do. And most importantly, the lad loves a new place. And I've been exploring the last couple of days, and it is pretty sweet. I'm really happy. It's a great neighborhood, and I'm very happy with the new setup. So that's pretty good. The move went pretty smoothly. I was under pressure to lose the decks, to lose the surfboards, to ditch a lot of my stuff. In the end of the day, I was able to keep the records, and in fact, I want to take a photo of each one of the records that I've got, partly so I can go and use it to go and search for the MP3s, which is easier than actually recording and digitizing all the content. Although that said as well, nowadays with the copyright stuff, I don't, even mixing, I don't know how safe that is anymore, but I've got a lot of great music I just want to be able to listen to. But the good news is I was able to retain all of that. I did give up the longboard, the 3-meter longboard, but I gave that to a friend who said he's going to give it back to me in future. Although in the end of the day, I was very happy to give that to the guy who I gave it to, he's an interesting guy, half Japanese guy who lives in Chiba, very close to one of my favorite surfing spots actually. So very glad that he got the board and he's on a farm. And it's a good excuse for me to go and take the lad and go and see him, which will be awesome for the farm and for the beach. But yeah, I'm really happy with the new setup. There's a lot of stuff actually which I haven't fully set up, haven't tested yet. But the setup with the decks and everything is all hooked up to the computer, so it should be able to, without too much trouble, record. I've also got a second camera which is not working at the moment, which is over there. And I know why, I think. But yeah, I'm going to be able to basically move over onto that, either using HDMI or using my actual DSLR camera, or using that with the new setup. So anyway, the room is awesome. I love this new IKEA desk, which you can't see beside me. It's IKEA in Japanese, and I can't get used to calling it IKEA. So apologies for that. But yes, I'm sorry, and it's funny. In a couple of days, what I missed Kat McDowell's concert in Kawasaki last night. It would have been tough. I was taking the son to the pool, and being a dad at the time, it's tough to do everything like that. I also missed the YouTube get together at the YouTube space, the happy hour, which I think was on Friday night. Would have liked to have gone, and I probably will like to go to the next one just to see everybody. But yeah, as we almost got round to mentioning last night as well, the YouTube summer party is looking like it's going to be penciled in September 5. That looks like the likely date. For my ease of reference, doing it in the same place as last year in the Tokyo Sports Cafe, it's a very easy setup there. I love that they've got lots of internet connected screens, so you can create a playlist to show everyone's videos. You can sit down, they've got food, drinks, everything there, and it's in Roppongi, so it's easy to go out and do stuff later on. But that said, some people say get a bigger place or do something else, and based on my motivation levels and whatever, I'm consulting with a couple of people who are very good at this sort of thing. So we should be making an announcement about the YouTube summer party very soon. But yeah, pencil in September 5, and it's going to be awesome as it is every year. And if you are in Tokyo, or if you are thinking of coming to Tokyo and you'd like to meet the YouTubers outside of the Hanami, this is probably the biggest gathering, unofficial gathering that's done. That's run mainly by Japan YouTubers, and it is the one that people do come and travel for, and it's better than the Hanami because of course it's rainproof, being indoors, and yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's awesome every year, and it's very easy for me. It's my pleasure to set it up. So I look forward to that. And yes, if you can come to Tokyo, if you're either in a different part of Japan or even if you're from overseas, if you can come to Japan, September 5 is the place to pencil it in. Oh, and El Comedo is going back to the YouTube space in LA in July. I'm jealous of that. The YouTube space in LA looks awesome. So anyway, into the topics that we've got. I don't have a lot, and I said I'm going to keep it short, but I've just talked for the first 15 minutes without going into the topic. So let's do this. Tomorrow is interesting. Tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Korea and Japan establishing diplomatic relations. And, just today, the Korean foreign minister came to Japan, which is the first ministerial level exchange with Japan that Korea is allowed. Japan said that they'll meet any time and any conditions, and Korea said, no, unless you apologize first for the war and for everything again. So, they haven't had exchanges in 4 years. And you think about that. These are neighboring countries with, Japan has a massive population of Korean Japanese. There's huge trade. They're among the biggest trading partners with one another. And there has been no diplomatic, there's been no ministerial exchanges for 4 years now. And Japan's had probably more government-level contacts with North Korea than it's had with South Korea. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but it's almost at that level with the abduction talks. I think there's actually a huge chance for North Korea at the moment to blow everything apart if they do something like actually return the abducted Japanese citizens that they still hold. They could do a massive deal with Japan that could just highlight how stupid it is that Korea won't talk to Japan at the moment. Unless they come to some sort of... I was thinking about this earlier. The situation, there's a few things going on at the moment, but the comfort woman thing is actually that President Park is doing with Japan. It's very much like what Hatoyama tried to do with Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration over Okinawa, which is that he made a promise to voters that I'm going to fix that problem. I'm going to promise that I'm going to make America... change its policy on having these bases in Okinawa, leave it to me. And he said that without consulting them, and he made a promise that he couldn't deliver, and it ended up kind of destroying his career. He had to resign as prime minister over it. And Park's kind of done the same thing. Park's made it a political point that she's going to get money out of Japan. Mustard Blue, who I believe is a man in Japan, thank you for the like. She's kind of made a commitment that she's going to isolate Japan and make them apologize again and give more money or give money, direct compensation and apology to the 52 remaining comfort women who are alive. Japan's position remains the same, which is that the Kono statement, which was a diplomatic statement between the two countries acknowledging the comfort women issue and the Asian, between that statement, the 1965 reparations, which established diplomatic relations, the anniversary of which is tomorrow, which was done by Park's own father. Those reparations covered the comfort women reparations. And indeed, on top of that, the Japanese government helped to set up the Asian Women's Fund, which was also intended to give financial support for comfort women. And so everything is resolved. There's nothing else left to resolve, and this is just trying to, get more money again. And Phoenix787, thank you for liking the video. That is the position of the Japanese government. The position of the Korean government is that whatever compensation's been paid in the past, it's not valid. Japan has to pay again. It's unconscionable not to do it. And the government's basically trying to come back and get more, and they've promised that they're going to get it, and they've backed themselves into a corner over that, which is very frustrating and sad. And that's why there are actually going to be 50th anniversary commemoration. I think business people and so on are going to do some sort of functions and so on tomorrow. The Prime Minister of Japan is not going to attend. It's a waste of time. He should be meeting with the President of South Korea, but she won't meet. So, waste of time. And it's very disappointing, that Japan and Korea can't talk at the moment over this. So, the other topics from this week. This was actually tweeted by Shivers. So this is interesting. I did a long rant on Facebook about this. Looks like good news. A law to enable dancing all night is being enacted by Parliament. So what this is about is that there's a law which bans dancing after midnight. I think it's one of the rules that applies to like gremlins, like you can't feed mogwais or allow them to dance after midnight, or they turn into gremlins, as everybody knows. So what's the story here? Why was it illegal when it clearly wasn't being enforced? I mean, I spent years going out dancing all night in clubs, and Japan has some of the best club culture in the world. So why is this illegal? Why is there a need for this law? And what's happening with this law? Because it looks like good news. If it was illegal, it's silly. Well, they fixed it now. Well, not exactly. First of all, when I came to Japan, there was never a problem with bars having signs saying don't dance, and people going around, warning people from dancing. The original, what used to happen is it used to be very simple. People used to people have danced in clubs. If you talk about, like the quintessential 1980s, representative video, it's footage from the nightclub Juliana's of women dancing on stages with big, feathery fans and stuff like that. All through this, all the generations leading up to that are the legislators now have been enjoyed the. Oh, I missed that. Have enjoyed this ability to be able to dance at night. But it's funny. In the last 10 years, the police have decided to crack down on a lot of nightclubs, particularly clubs in Roppongi. Not for dancing per se, for things like, for example, creating too much noise and not remedying that, or for having neighborhood watchers have been complaining about the elements fights outside the clubs, or people not behaving well in the streets if they're in residential areas. And the police, they come in and they threaten to close them down if they don't improve their manners. And they say go ahead and try it. And when the police want to act on that, traditionally what's happened is they give that warning, people get the message and they fix it. But what's happened recently is that people have kind of said to the police, screw you, and the police have come in and they have shut down some clubs, particularly in Roppongi, that were repeated offenders of nuisance type stuff. And the law that they used was an archaic, a 1950s occupation period law, that it's actually an anti-prostitution law, which was basically back in the 1950s. The only all-night bars with dancers were basically like go-go prostitution clubs for GIs, for American GIs. And so there was a law that you needed a special brothel license to be able to have dancing after midnight. That was the only place that was kind of common, and that's how it was enforced. So of course there have been, ever since the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and early 2000s, there has been all-night dancing and fantastic club culture in Japan. And this law was forgotten about. This was just used during the the occupation period in Japan to regulate brothels where women would pole dance or go-go dance or whatever. But when the police wanted to shut down these clubs, and they were a bit lazy about gathering the evidence to actually justify shutting them down, they'd come in, they'd see people dancing, and they'd say, oh, you don't have a license to allow dancing, literally like a brothel license was required. And they'd shut down these clubs using that law, which got picked up in the international press. Oh, Japan outlaws dancing, which is ridiculous. So Parliament called a committee to fix the situation by legalizing dancing. Not that it was ever illegal in the first place. And the way that they legalized it was they called a committee of 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds, including people who thought, well, men and women shouldn't be able to dance at night anyway, and there should be fully lit, and there should be enough space between the people, because this is just allowing reefer madness. And they got some really socially conservative people who frankly had been through generations where they were allowed to do this, and this law was never enforced. It's being enforced wrongly. And so the conditions that they are now legalizing dancing, as if it needed legalization, that the clubs have to be sufficiently lit. 10 looks, which is probably not as bright as this, but not far off. The club has to be well lit. No dancing in the dark, which is like what you're supposed to do at clubs, right? There's laser shows and VJs, and it's ridiculous. They're requiring that dancing after midnight be adequately lit, and a few other conditions for this, and they're going to allow conditionally dancing, which is stupid. But yeah, so it's kind of funny. They actually, instead of legalizing, in a way, they're regulating it, making it worse than before, when all they had to do was just say, we no longer presume that everyone who dances after midnight are prostitutes for American GIs. That's all they had to do. But instead, they've actually gone and regulated it in a new way, the way that a 90-year-old great grandmother would approve of dancing, which is silly. But that's what's happened. Lucas Massa got kicked out of a church dance once for saying Jesus doesn't use deodorant as the excuse for close dancing. Oh, yes. Well, this is the thing. I mean, how, I'm surprised the legislation does not have written into it that you have to leave enough space for the baby Jesus in between people who are dancing, because it's almost at that level of social conservatism, which is ridiculous. But that is what it is. The story we talked about last night on 2.5 Oyajis, you can check out our long discussion on that, but I'll just repeat the main point of that. An executive from Toyota, an American board member of Toyota Japan, former vice president of General Motors and of Pepsi Cola in the United States, who was living in Japan. She had a parcel that was intercepted, labeled as a necklace, and when customs opened up the necklace parcel, it had a lot of pills hidden inside it. The name of the pills precisely, which I can't remember, but they're basically a pain oxycodone, which is a pain reliever used for extreme pain and I believe cancer treatments and so on in the US, and is available in prescription in the US. It is not available in prescription in Japan. It is regulated as a narcotic, and she tried. And the point of all of this is that if you have prescription medication, you can get it sent to you in Japan. You need to attach the prescription. You need to register the post. It's possible to do. You can go to the US Embassy website. All that information is there, because there was a case of, I said last night, manic depression. No, it's not manic depression. It was ADHD, I believe. A girl who had an Adderall prescription, whose mum sent her Adderall in a kind of dodgy way, who got arrested and put in detention, and the woman who was unfortunately in this case called Julie Hamp who was arrested for narcotic importation. I first, when I saw it in the Japanese, I double took, what is the pronunciation of that again? But yes, so in this case, obviously high flying. Chef Mikey, good to see. Thank you for the like. Thank you for that. But yeah, anyway, so she's been arrested. She's a vice president of the board of Toyota. Clearly smart, but whoever was sending the stuff to her, it was concealed and dodgy, and it got intercepted, and she's now in jail for importation of drugs. And she could have avoided it. Look up the U.S. Embassy website for how to do it if you're an American or anyone else. It's actually, but the point is, don't take for granted that, in any case, that you can send prescription meds, which was the case with the Adderall person. But in this case, this looks a bit more dodgy than that. This was actually concealed, which seems to imply that the person actually knew what they were doing, and she could actually do real serious jail time for this, in spite of being a Toyota board member. Also, it's not clear why she was taking this pain relief, but, she could have been an addict, but she could have actually had a condition, in which case, again, it would be very sad if she goes to jail for that. But all the more reason you don't have to go to jail to get your meds sent to you in Japan. Don't be stupid and hide your meds. Do it the right way. Look up the procedure and do it the right way. So anyway, that's a shame, but that's happened again. This was fun. This was on Rocket News, I think. Indeed, Rocket News. 12 confessions of Gaijins in Japan. Now, what were they? I think there's a lot of photos here, but I think there was a list. In fact, it doesn't show the article, does it? Let me see if I can... Confessions of Gaijin. 12 things that we never admit we do to Japanese people. And I can't read that properly, but go and check. I thought it was kind of a fun read. It's a bit silly, but yeah, apparently not related to the woman being arrested. This is from a couple of days before that happening, but so apparently now the highest ranking ever executive in Toyota has been promoted. He oversees operations including Japan, but he doesn't speak Japanese, which is it's funny. It's talking about he's trying to learn Japanese and so on, but it's causing a lot of angst for Toyota is a very Japanese corporation. It's always had Japanese bosses, but they're trying to be more global, and so they've got this French president or VP, and it's funny just reading about the consternation that it's caused to dealers in Japan. This is interesting. I was talking with Hinna Gaijin Ace, my friend, and I've still got to edit up the video from that we took in this space, but. There's Mully in there. Oh, hey, Englandese, by the way. Cat plays. Good to see you. It's good to see some more people in there. Taisha Jason, always good to see you. Oh, and you went over me. That's okay. And Sasimang 28172. Very good to see you. Daniel Piff, good to see you. Wow, Fukushima Jack. There's still lots of people coming in. The Gaijin Nod, indeed. Oh, was that you, the Gaijin Nod? Oh, there was someone anyway in Gaijin Pot who did a Gaijin Nod article the other day and tweeted me about my retweeting of that, which cool. It was a good piece. Anyway, I was talking with Hinna Gaijin about how one reason why, even from a commercial perspective, I think YouTube is now ahead of regular broadcast TV as a platform, is that you can see 4K and 8K broadcasts and virtual reality broadcasts. YouTube enables this stuff, and it's able to add this functionality faster than broadcast can, right? I mean, you need to get a new TV, a new tuner, but it is interesting that Fox US, the Fox US Open broadcast is apparently going to have VR streams and for drones and 4K cameras. So it looks like broadcast is trying to keep up, but there again, people don't have the means, I think, to get that stuff, and YouTube does. So this is why I think commercial people should be coming over onto YouTube. A lot of people have been buzzing about this. This is a little attachment with it's a little camera attachment with a 1-inch sensor. It's basically the same as a Sony. It is a Sony sensor that's on the Sony kind of high-end cameras, and it takes kind of DSLR type photos with a iPhone. Some people there have been like the wireless Olympus and another Sony kind of round attachment thing that you could use before. The drawbacks of those that people have mentioned are the time to sync up, the lag between trying to take a photo and the taking of the photo and so on. It's a bit sluggish and unresponsive from what I hear from Jet Daisuke, and people have reviewed those. This one, because it's plugged in and it's got a shutter with a shutter button on it, it's plugged in, yeah, apparently it looks very cool and easy to use, but at the same time, I don't know, would you go to all the trouble to attach this when you've got a very good camera on the phone as it is? But a lot of people have been talking about that this week. I was talking before about how the 50th anniversary of Korea-Japan diplomatic relations happening tomorrow. Abe is not going to attend, which is a shame. There's something which I mentioned last night, that the tourism agency, a lot of foreigners talk about the BS, for example, of how the tattoo rules are being enforced against tourists. You know, the tattoo rules are there to basically keep out organized crime people. Tattoos, and understand, organized crime people, they do have very specific types of very ornate tattoos, but there's a specific type of tattoo. And showing those tattoos, lifting your sleeve and showing those tattoos is a form of intimidation. If they're saying that you need to move your car, or they're saying you really should take our join our neighborhood watch program where you pay us, and you sound reluctant about that, they will show the tattoo, and which will say you're going to have a lot of trouble if you don't agree to the offer I am making you. If I'm making you offers you cannot refuse, and just so that you know that here's my tattoo. Japanese Yakuza tattoos are used as weapons of intimidation. They're like a calling card that I am from a large, violent, organized crime syndicate. And this is why a lot of places, they can't ask people, if you are a Yakuza member, don't come in. The easiest way to identify, without having to go do a background check on everyone coming in to your things, and basically the problem with gyms and with onsen are that you cannot, you're naked in those places, so you can't hide the tattoos. Most other places will tolerate people, right, if they keep them hidden. But if you're wearing them in plain sight, it means that they have an ability to weaponize their tattoos against and to intimidate other people, makes people uncomfortable. And that's why there's a general policy encouraged by the police agency actually to keep Yakuza out of these bathhouses and onsens and so on. The problem is that while the intent of this is to keep mobsters out and to stop them using their tattoo calling cards to shake people down and intimidate people, you do have cases of people, like there was a New Zealander on Facebook the other day with a little penguin tattoo that a lady saw and complained to management, and he got his gym membership terminated. There was a Maori New Zealand woman last year who came to an indigenous a worldwide indigenous conference in Hokkaido and got had a facial tattoo and got turned away from that. There are cases where the tattoos are enforcing a tattoo rule against people who are clearly not Japanese gangsters, people who are clearly tourists. And especially when you consider the tattoo craze that seems to have happened in a lot of Western countries in the last couple of years, this is something which will really affect and really, really annoys a lot of tourists. And it is experienced and felt as discrimination when they run into it. The thing is, if you're a Japanese person and you get a tattoo, you know that you're signing up for not being able to go to a lot of onsens anymore. You kind of know what you're getting into. It's a choice. Maybe for the foreigners coming to Japan who come here with tattoos already, and they're not aware that this is going to lead to this sort of thing, yeah, it can be very upsetting. And what's happened, it seems, is that a lot of people have complained to the tourism agency, and the tourism agencies gathered this feedback. And so they've announced that they're going to do a survey of onsens all over Japan, and they're going to ask them basically, do you refuse foreign tourists with tattoos, and why? Which sounds like they're going to, in a very kind of indirect way, they're going to lean on these places to change their policy for foreigners. Because again, everyone's thinking about with the Olympics coming up, and you think about how common it is now for Westerners in particular to have tattoos. This is a problem for a country that's trying to boost its tourism score. If they can't go to some of the best, one of the things, if you come to Japan, you're going to go to onsens, and so you don't want to have all these people getting horrible experiences, which I guess is what's been happening. So a lot of people, foreigners in particular, complain about this for a long time, but it looks like some positive action being taken by the Japanese government, so kudos for that. Indeed, Ronin Ushinawa is saying that you will have to reconsider having a huge Hylian shield crest on your chest if you're going to go stay in Japan and visit any onsens for any length. Then, yeah, that would be right. You would probably have to consider that. Although who knows? It might be getting better, especially if you look obviously like a foreigner. Maybe that you're going to get a pass. Maybe you're going to get a diplomatic immunity on this. I don't know. But yes. What if it was a super dweeb tattoo like Sailor Moon? I think they would be kept out of the onsens, but probably for other reasons. In fact, I was actually just reading through the Hatana bookmarks on my RSS tonight. Someone saying, why isn't there a society to protect otaku from discrimination? Otaku complain a lot about different sorts of discrimination that they get, which is, kind of funny. I haven't had a chance to check this out yet, but YouTube is setting up a news dedicated site of basically approved news. So there is already stuff like Vice News and so on, which have good enough quality news, and if they're vetted to make sure that they're legit, they want to aggregate all of the legitimate news sites so that people start using, as I actually already do, YouTube as a first site for news, which is super interesting. And I wonder, would a show like this, would talk shows about news be able to be included in that? I have a feeling not. They want it to be whitelisted commercial content, but who knows? I think it's just an interesting development. And I guess they're trying to encourage sites like CNN and Al Jazeera and Vice to beef up their the video coverage that they put onto the site, so that they are the most prominent news video news service. So this is something I really hope actually picks up, and something that I can watch, for example, Japan news on. I really wish NHK would put their news on to YouTube as a platform. I know that they broadcast off their own platform at the moment, but it would be very convenient for everybody and handy for them, and it would save them costs. NHK is a thing; they're a public broadcaster, and they don't like to they don't allow, in principle, they don't allow broadcasts or brand names or logos to be shown on their broadcasts. For example, if they have someone from Microsoft being interviewed, they will typically say someone from a foreign IT software company rather than the name of the company. So I know that they're very pathological about avoiding branding and being seen to promote brands, but they should with YouTube actually, and that's pretty cool. Another thing that's awesome, and I love this, I haven't had a chance to really check these out properly yet, but not only, before you've always had the video streams from the ISS, but now they're actually showing full color HD video. The fact that they're disclosing, I think this shows to like 3 square feet, so it's almost enough to make out people, but not quite. The fact that they're showing real-time video like this probably implies that this is probably technology that was available 20 years ago, and it makes you really wonder what the spies have available at the moment, if this is what they're actually comfortable making public. It's kind of amazing that, and I guess we are going to come to a time when we first got Google Maps. And I remember my mum saw it and said, it's strange because, we've done a renovation on the garage. The photo was a couple of months old. And my mum, when she first saw Google Maps with the satellite photos, she assumed it was real time. But it looks like we could be coming close to that pretty soon. We could have real-time worldwide video, which I guess already exists actually for the spy satellites and so on. But it looks like it's coming. It's becoming available at the moment just as a random ISS feed, but it's pretty cool. All nude, all Gaijin, all tattooed. I'll consider that title. Thank you, Ben Duncan. I don't know why there's a picture of what's her face, Paris Hilton, on something to know about drug enforcement in Japan. But one thing to know is that, as I mentioned yesterday, while foreigners do get a large degree of diplomatic immunity in Japan when it comes to speeding, drunken behavior, stupidity, we will not get arrested often where foreigners will, because Japanese will, because they just consider foreigners a hassle to deal with. When it comes to drugs, you will go to jail, and even for just a little bit, including, 2 cases here, ADHD medicine, Adderall, or prescription meds for pain, you will be thrown in jail. Don't even go. The thing with Adderall is that it's a form of speed. It's methamphetamine. It's legal methamphetamine in the States, but it's illegal methamphetamine still in Japan. So you will be literally treated like Walter White in that situation. So just don't do it. And I think there's advice here on how to look up. It's loading, and I might skip it, but anyway, if you're bringing meds, just make sure that you do the right thing and you check that. I had a fun Twitter exchange this week on this. There's a debate about I've only been in Japan my whole working life, so I'm surprised this is even a question. But in Japan, you typically shower before bed, and you go to work in the morning. Apparently a lot of foreigners like to shower in the morning. Is that right? Before you go to work. I guess it's because we have such crappy summer nights here that and I guess when you're outside all day, you do get a bit sweaty and tired. You want to refresh before you go to sleep. You typically don't assume that you're going to be sweaty and dirty in the morning. Plus, you've got your sheets and everything. You don't want to ruin your sheets by getting into your bed dirty, right? So for me, having a shower at night is absolutely the thing. But it sounds like for a lot of foreigners, they come and they don't want to they want to have a shower and freshen up before they get to work. I'm interested, for the people watching this, does anyone here shower in the morning? Morning always, Travis Moore, that's interesting. I actually made a point in this as well. I made a tongue-in-cheek comment. I know a lot of people in the UK who, no joke, shower only once a week, and they shower once a week because they actually believe it's unhealthy for the skin. You wash away the oils that your skin emits when you don't wash, are like moisturizers, and they're actually good for the skin. It's bad for the skin. You will dry out the skin. If you shower every day, it's bad for you. So they actually will only wash one day a week, and there'll be a day. And it's not just English people. I've run into some Australians like this. In Australia, people should be arrested if they don't have a shower every day, because it's so hot there. People start to smell really bad. But there are some people you just run into on the wrong day, and it's terrible. I also remember there was a Japanese guy in my old foreign law firm that I was working at, who we'd go out jogging. We'd run around the palace together. We'd come back, and I'd have a shower, and he wouldn't have a shower. And I asked, "Why aren't you having a shower?" And he'd say, "Because I'm Japanese. I don't smell. I'm not like you." The thing was, he smelled. I mean, I'll grant, actually, he probably didn't smell as bad as I did after the run, and I would shower as a matter of course after the run. But him not showering and going and working in a closed office and going into that office like afterwards, I couldn't breathe in that room. Japanese people can smell too. Japanese people tend to think that foreigners smell really bad and Japanese don't. But, they still smell. So there was that. It's funny, so I've got the one Reezy says every morning, and it does get really sticky, some people. The master is indeed, you're up with the latest news on drug enforcement there. Indeed, weed is illegal in Japan. Although it grows wild beside the highways in Hokkaido, and there are bus tours in Hokkaido that go around just to pick the wild. The hemp that they use actually with sumo, it's actually used in Shinto religious ceremonies. Someone say, "Listen, Q, I don't know who these dirty Brits used to hang around with, but they aren't the norm." Okay, Broscafarian, maybe I'm being unfair, but in New Zealand and Australia, the stereotype we have of English people is that they only bathe once a week. And I've met English people who back up that stereotype, so I'm sorry about that. But, and I've actually had the explanation to me of the rationale for not showering every day. And yes, Kush 55, the Outback is indeed really, really fun. I think they use it to repel flies. I don't know why they end up like that, but yes, indeed. So anyway, this is a picture of the ramen that I had yesterday for lunch. This is from Mensho in Korakuen, and it is lamb-based broth. I think it's Mensho is a chain that has like unusual ramen. Like one of them is all vegetarian, one of them's all chicken, this one's all lamb. It's really hard to find lamb just generally in Tokyo, let alone a lamb ramen shop. But this for me is the best ramen I've ever had. I had it for the second time yesterday, and I'm going to have it again. The brown meat on the top, that's pork chashu, but the red meat on the bottom is lamb chashu. But the broth is very thick. It's like tenka ipin on its lamb broth. It's like having really thick gravy, like roast lamb gravy. I mean, it's just awesome. Pug-chan, I shouted you out earlier. Thank you. Oh man. So Pug-chan is awesome. I mentioned before, I'm doing the work, and I'll say I'm doing it for commission. She does work for commission, so I thought, great. I love her style of animation, and so I said I'll take that and maybe the first product in her own animation style, which while I like the Powerpuff thing, I like her personal style even better than that. Check the thumbnail to this video. I think I'm going to do some rebranding. I've used the same logos for like 8 years, and I love her style so much that can I share this? Let me see if I can drag that up. It's a bit slow at the moment with the broadcast, but if I can, come on, go half screen. There it is. Check the stuff out. Can you guys see that? Let me move that over. Ba-da-boom, ba-da-boom, ba-da-boom. Oh, that is so cool. That is what Pug-chan did for me, and that is why Pug-chan is awesome. So thank you for that, Pug-chan, and she is an awesome artist, and I tell you, doing it for commission is well worth it. And she did a video talking about that as well. And if someone does something that you appreciate, that takes them time, and you would like it, and you get some sort of benefit of it, do that. Even if they don't ask to be paid, pay them. And I've got to send her some swag as well, actually, because that is so awesome. And you're going to see that kind of logo in more places going forward. Pug-chan is awesome. Anyway, and go and subscribe to her videos, and check out her art. Her art is awesome. I just love the kind of her. She's got an anime. It's an anime-ish, but it's not anime exactly. But it's her style, and I really, really like it. It's an awesome job, and thank you. And everyone go support her because she's awesome. So what else we got here? That's just about it, actually. There's the ongoing debate about the collective security law in Japan. Japan, as a reminder, has Rochelle. That's another good artist, actually. Rochelle as well, that Robert 1967 Canada is mentioning. So yes, I'm just going to talk about the collective defense bill briefly at the end. So I think everyone's heard of the Japanese Constitution, and if people don't know anything about the Constitution, they know about Article 9. Article 9 was written by the Breakfast Club, as I like to call it, a bunch of American students who were given a 1-week deadline to draft a constitution for Japan, which was a punishment constitution after World War II. And Article 9 says that Japan, there's two parts to it. One part says that Japan will never again retain forces for waging war on land, sea, or air, and it renounces the use of force to settle conflicts going forward. So basically, Japan is banned from having any sort of military, and it's banned from using force in any situation going forward in the future. Very clearly written. Very idealistic, but adopted without much thought. It proved to be very inconvenient for the Americans, who forced that constitution on Japan, I think in like 1949, and then in 1953 the Korean War started, and Japan said, we're not allowed to help you because you forced us to give that up. And it also got Japan out of the Vietnam War. So it's actually done Japan pretty well over the years that Japan hasn't gotten wrapped up in wars. However, Japan has gotten a hard time from the international community for not, for checkbook diplomacy, for sending checks and not sending people. And so there have been these reinterpretations, including there was a reinterpretation in 1959 that allowed Japan to have the self-defense forces, which are only for the purpose of self-defense of Japan, not to be used offensively in any way. And there's very contorted ways that they make sure that is only for self-defense purposes. Then they reinterpreted it again in the 1990s to allow Japan to participate in peacekeeping and stuff like that. But now they want to reinterpret again to allow collective defense, which is this idea that if America gets attacked or Japanese interests get attacked in another part of the world, Japan will come to their aid. The thing is, we are now getting really, really far away from what Article 9 says, and although the government is proceeding saying that this is a legitimate interpretation of Article 9, and they've got one or two people to say that that's the case, the Japanese Lawyers Association has come out and said it's clearly against the Constitution, and you got to change the Constitution before you do this, and it's causing a lot of angst at the moment, with a lot of people saying that the government's trying to pass an unconstitutional law, which has I still think a reasonable aim, which is that under the current interpretations, which allow Japan to have self-defense forces, in a theoretical situation that, for example, Russia or China or North Korea were to attack U.S. forces in Japan, most notably probably in Okinawa, Japanese forces would be prohibited from coming to the defense or to help American forces in trouble, even if those forces are there for the purpose of protecting Japan, which seems a little bit wrong. There's another thing there actually. So yeah, they're trying to make it so that they can help other countries, and they've said specifically Australia and America that are allies of Japan. Korea is nervous that Japan might use it as an excuse for going into the Korean Peninsula, which, as if Japan would ever want to go into the Korean Peninsula ever again. But it's the whole thing to start with is, if you read Article 9, you could say, well, why is there even a defense force under Article 9? So long as the Constitution isn't changed, and it hasn't been changed since it was imposed on Japan, it's a little bit contorted, but we are now getting really, really far away from that, so there's been a really long, ongoing debate around that. There are one thing I just mentioned in the beginning about Korea-Japan relations, and that's Gigi, by the way, she's lovely. This is the last one for today. So I've talked about the behind-the-scenes negotiations between Korea and Japan at the moment, trying to figure out how they're going to celebrate a 50th anniversary when they're not talking to each other. Apparently, the government in Korea is saying, pay up for the 52 remaining alive comfort women to settle this. And Japan is, although these are supposed to be secret behind-the-scenes negotiations, the Korean president mentioned this to the Washington Post during the week. Japan said, well, you're not supposed to talk about, these things when they're still in progress. So apparently someone leaked to the Japanese press, yeah, we've said we'll consider doing some sort of compromise to appease you guys, provided that you remove all of the comfort women statues that you've put up all over the place and you stop calling them sex slaves. So now they've both kind of come out and publicly given their secret positions. And I don't know, we'll find out if they can actually reach a middle ground on this, which Japan has already admitted and, provided their position is that this is settled. And Korea's position is that, well, it was settled, but now it's not settled again, and you have to pay more. And it sounds like Japan's offering to do that, but they're asking for some good faith on the Korean side. And, I think there is a thing. Korea's kind of backed out of recognizing that this is settled now twice. Once in 1965 when they settled the first time, then again, and when they resettled it again in 1993 with the Asian Women's Fund and the Kono Statement. So the question is, how do you make sure that Japan isn't going to get screwed over with this again? And the Korean president herself said, whatever Japan does, it's not going to change for even 1,000 years. It's not going to change the reality that Korea is the victim and Japan is the aggressor. And you might say that's true, but then in that case, then what's the point? If doing anything, if it's not for the purpose of resolving this. But anyway, so these are the secret positions. They're out in the open, and we'll find out soon if these have been done. I have not prepared an outro track, but what's this? It's Ami Yamato all over again. I've missed some of the comments on that, so I'm gonna have to come back to that. But I'm going to come back. So I don't know. I haven't prepared a track, but should I do something there? I guess, provided that I can. Oh, you know what I should do? Why not? Why don't I make something? Quick outro, quick impro. I haven't had a chance to make any music this week because, now, what should I do here? This means I need to take off, though. The HDMI will cause it to buzz. That means I need the second camera working, and the second camera will not work with this. So, how do I do that? I guess I could just unplug the HDMI. But let me see if I can figure out a quick solution to this. I guess point the camera down at it, although I don't have a tripod handy. That goes in there. That goes in other way around. So I'm just going to fix this up. I hope that's not making a buzzy sound. Put that in. And let's do an outro and see you guys later. So I guess if I put that there, if I'm doing it this way, I might as well just use the bigger one so you can see. You can see my legs this way. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There. Boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to disconnect that, boom, and I'm going to point the camera down and change the camera angle. In fact, okay, new track, yep. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to turn the light off. And I'm going to put that there, point that down, some leg action there, and I'm going to make that full screen and select that as the mic and switch this over and see if you can hear this. Oh, you can hear that. Okay, so tell me what kind of style you'd like to see. See if you can figure this out. So what should we do here? Drum and bass, hip hop, reggae. Let's just do this right now. Let's make it 135. You know what? Let's do house. Let's do house. Make that 64. Make that Egyptian F. And let's do this. Okay. That's not good. I think I'm going to use this for another drum. Let's do drum and bass too. I'm going to clean this up and post this during the week. You guys have a good week. I'll see you guys later, and thank you for hanging around. And